With the reintroduction of Verdansk, I noted how important it was for Call of Duty to really hit the ground running, with Verdansk being the first step in a number of positive steps to take Call of Duty Warzone and place it back in its casual sandbox experience that makes it a fun game. Not tweaking weapons too much, not taking away fun metas, not catering to the top 1% of players, but rather a real focused, emphasized effort on just re-injecting fun into Call of Duty Warzone. And when I went on holiday with Season 3 Reloaded releasing, I was expecting to come back to a very similar Verdansk with the added additions of things like Ascenders to the game, which honestly was something that I was looking forward to despite some public sentiment against it. So you can imagine my surprise when I returned and played Season 3 Reloaded for the first time to find out not only is it not the step forward that we needed with this update, it was actually a colossal step backwards. Somehow, Call of Duty, in the space of a very short window, has managed to take the beloved Verdansk update that we got and massively dilute that experience with a number of bugs that have been re-entered into the game and seemingly a massively large uptick in cheaters that I've noticed in-game. The experience from the Season 3 release I would call a pretty solid 8.5 out of 10. And we're now down somewhere to like a 5 or 6. This is a pretty colossal drop-off. And I'm going to be revealing to you some numbers later on in this video that actually illustrates that Call of Duty's player count situation is not getting better. And as a matter of fact, as a result of 2025 and how the game has been handled, they've actually lost players and they thought they were going to gain more. So to start with, probably one of the most painstaking bugs I've seen so far is that plates are quite literally just not working in the game at this point. You can apply a plate and it just will do a ghost plate, a bit like a ghost reload, where you actually don't get the plate applied to your armor, you just do the animation, so sometimes when you're refilling all 3 plates you do 4 animations, or if you have tempered and you're expecting to do 2, you end up doing 3. And honestly, just something that's so fundamentally essential to how this game plays, being that broken and that not working correctly, is already insanity within itself. You know, there are lots of other bugs and issues that we're going to be talking about throughout this video, but the fact that something as basic as the armor system in this game now being somewhat non-functional should give you an alarmingly large red flare as to how much of a step backwards this update has been. The next big one, and this is probably one of the craziest ones, is servers just straight up crashing. Throughout the release of Season 3 Reloaded, although it seems to have stabilized a little bit now, pretty much people were unable to finish games. Like, the entire instance of Call of Duty would just crash outright, and people would end up finishing their games in Circle 2 or Circle 3, and pretty much nobody was able to complete a full game of Warzone. Now, they're alleging that this wasn't malicious intentions. They're saying that this wasn't something that happened as a result of people trying to DDoS their servers, but honestly, I almost don't believe them, because the correlation between ranked play going live and suddenly everybody's servers crashing versus ranked play now no longer existing, which we'll talk about in a minute, and servers being completely stable, it just doesn't seem to add up in my head. To me, it seems fundamentally clear that when ranked play was live and cheaters had the option to DDoS servers if they were so inclined, suddenly the entire server system was struggling. And now when there's no reason to do it, everything seems to be okay. But for the most part, the server situation has been diabolical. Not only can people not finish their games, although again, I do state that that does seem to be improving, what I've witnessed this last couple of days in terms of gunfight desync, in terms of latency, in terms of mismatches between what I'm seeing on my screen and what is happening in the game server has been astronomical. Now, I have made tons of videos about this. I have made videos about Warzone server situation. I've made videos about how Call of Duty is cheaping out on their servers, how their netcode has been designed incredibly flawed, and how the entire system just doesn't work. And I'm saying this as somebody who plays on Call of Duty servers with a latency sometimes as low as 2 milliseconds. The highest I can get in the United Kingdom is 10 milliseconds if I'm in a UK server. And even then, even with the lowest possible feasible latency that would be considered god tier by most other video game standards, I still witness and experience some of the worst desync experiences I've seen in any modern first-person shooter. I've probably seen more issues with people teleporting around vehicles, more issues with people dying behind cover and dying around corners, and more issues with just desyncing kill cams than I have ever seen pretty much throughout the entire life cycle of Warzone. And it's got to be said again, it doesn't matter if it's a matter of just simply paying for better servers with higher refresh rates and higher tick rates, or it's simply a case of redesigning the netcode. The entirety of how Call of Duty operates is the worst in AAA shooting, and I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that with my chest. Except for the 60 Hz multiplayer experience, which sometimes seems to be pretty good, how Call of Duty handles netcode and how they handle their server infrastructure is the worst. It's the worst of any shooter that we have out right now in my humble experience. And it's alarming to me that I played early access shooters like Arc Raiders, which arguably aren't as demanding, arguably in places in terms of the networking and in terms of what they're trying to achieve, but instantly felt 10 times better than anything I'd played from a Call of Duty game, despite it being a massive multi-million-dollar, if not multi-billion-dollar franchise. Irrespective to server crashes, games themselves are just crashing, and a lot of people who are on AMD-based systems are noticing issues with stuttering and latency. And as a result of both the server crashes and also seemingly some issues within ranked play itself, the entirety of ranked play has been taken away from Warzone Season 3 Reloaded. They've actually vaulted ranked play, and honestly, it's had such a detrimental impact to the game, it's alarming. Not only did ranked play just not work and end up being a complete catastrophe for anybody who tried to play it, as a result of them vaulting the experience, the amount of cheaters that have now flooded into the public experience that are just absolutely dominating the game is insane, and we will touch on that again a little bit later. Settings in the game aren't applying, including the ability to adjust audio settings. It seems to be a new bug that's been introduced with Season 3 Reloaded, where you can't even tweak certain things without it working correctly. And attachments in the games have been bugged as well, with thermal optics not working, and even some gun optics being entirely misaligned. And even some perks got taken out in the collateral option too. Ghost was not working for an extended period of time, now they've patched it and it's working again, and they've seemingly created a very larger backlog of little bugs here and there that have massively compromised the experience. And if you were somebody who really enjoyed the customizable UI options of Black Ops 6, well, you can kiss all of that goodbye. Rather than making it so that Warzone players had access to the customizable UI options that would carry over to Warzone and be something they could utilize both in Black Ops 6 multiplayer and in the Warzone experience, they've just decided to strip the entire Warzone experience of that customizable UI element. So for those of you who are utilizing the large minimap, for example, that is now completely gone. Now, the last thing I want to touch on here is cheaters, because I have seen the largest uptick of cheaters I think I've witnessed, and it only took a couple of weeks. Let's be honest, guys. Don't get me wrong, Season 3 started really, really strong. They've done a decent job of staying on top of it. But by Season 3 Reloaded, the experience I had today can only be described as absolutely dominated by cheaters. And I will say, credit where credit is due, a lot of these guys are getting reported, and I am getting notifications that they are being banned retroactively. But the sheer volume of the number of them that I've encountered during this time, it just doesn't make up for it. You can ban all of them, but if they're playing 4 or 5 games by the time they get banned, and then I run into another one who's playing 4 or 5 games, and another one is playing 4 or 5 games, ultimately I'm just fundamentally always playing against cheaters. And honestly, it seems to be some pretty basic stuff, like some straight up rage hacking, straight up aimbots, stuff that just should be detected fairly instantaneously. And arguably my biggest complaint, and this is something that I find personally very frustrating, is that I have spoken extensively on the impact that out-of-region players are having on the European experience of Warzone, and it's amazing to me that you can go into a game of Warzone and just watch these guys advertise cheats in Chinese with just no action taken. You know, if you type something in text chat in English, it automatically gets vetted, and if you say something stupid, you will get a text ban, you'll possibly get an audio or chat ban, and you won't be able to speak in the game. But if you want to log in there and sell as many cheats as you humanly want from an entirely different region of the world, that is perfectly allowed and something that isn't being detected at all or being retroactively dealt with. And the bots that are doing this are pretty much just making the game worse, spamming your notification feed, spamming your text feed. Again, zero action being taken. The final thing I want to touch on, and this is something that's, you know, away from the bugs, away from the cheaters, away from things that you know, are things that can sometimes be a little uncontrollable. The game getting unstable can sometimes just happen. It can be a series of things that go wrong in development, and the anti-cheat situation will ebb and flow from strength to weakness. But they really had an opportunity to inject more fun into this game with some fun modes, and their solution was to go, yeah, bro, it's 420 part 7, 75,000. Like, come on, Call of Duty. Like, what are we doing? This is the 65th bajillionth time since I have played this game that you have reskinned the same superhero abilities that you used for the boys, the same abilities you've used for Zombie Royale, and just gone, yep, let's repackage it, make it look like 5% difference and no one will notice. We do. Try something different. Armored Royale, Juggernaut Royale, this catalog of LTMs that you used to make in the past that you've now just decided to abandon on the basis of having the same power-ups every 5 months, it's kind of embarrassing. And for the love of God, this was a great opportunity to start this season strong and go, you know what guys, let's introduce some classic Call of Duty skins that would have looked really great in Verdansk, that lots of people probably would have purchased, and your solution to that was to throw in goddamn Seth Rogen. It's so non-directional. It's like the people who make this game, the people who are in charge of this game, the people who have any kind of creative control or fiscal control of this game, don't know their own jobs. Because from the outside in, it's inherently clear that this is a huge misstep, and Season 3 Reloaded just took 10 steps backwards, and quite frankly, if they had any sense, they would actually walk back the update. They would literally take everything that's happened this update and go, right, we're not doing anything till Season 4 until we fix all of this. We're scaling it back. We're walking all of it back. Now look, fundamentally, I understand it. These skins exist because at the end of the day, people obviously are buying them and there is an incentive for them to keep going. But the fact that you've decided to welcome an entire generation of previous Warzone players back into the fray with Call of Duty Warzone's return to Verdansk, and then instantly shove the most abrasive LTM situation Seth Rogen skin into their face and go, by the way, this was everything that you hated and why you left, just isn't intelligent. Like, it doesn't take a child to explain that to you. Like, oh yeah, you know, we're really bringing back this grounded experience, we're reducing the movement, we're making the game feel like Verdansk, we're making everything feel what you expected back from the days when you used to play this game. By the way, here's 17 weed skins, here's Seth Rogen, and here's a mode that's basically the superhuman mode that we did a few months ago, or even a year ago now at this point. Shove it back in your face. And this leads me on to my final point, which is that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has actually seen its lowest concurrent player count that they've seen in quite some time. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The audio of this game, the server system of this game, the aim assist of this game, and the anti-cheat of this game are the 4 pillars of Call of Duty that at this point, people have a reputation for. People look at Call of Duty and go, yep, terrible audio, terrible servers, aim assist makes everything easy for people on controller, and the anti-cheat is absolutely terrible and it's riddled with cheaters. And they've done nothing to really challenge that situation at all, in my opinion. They've done nothing to really challenge it. The audio arguably is better. The anti-cheat hasn't really made a difference in my view, in terms of the experience that I have from day to day. And everything else, well, just feels like an afterthought. In fact, I'd say the servers are pretty much worse than what they were before. And as a result of that, in the March of 2023, Call of Duty had 22.4 million players. In March of 2024, it had 20.8 million players. And in March of 2025, it had 20.6 million players. A year-on-year-on-year decline for Call of Duty. And whilst I'm confident Verdansk in April of 2025 would have shot that number right up, the reality of what we've just seen in Season 3 Reloaded is probably instantly going to delete some of that good grace that they've made already. And ultimately, at the end of this video, I think my challenge to Call of Duty is this. Stop breaking shit, do a better job, and fix your damn game. It's embarrassing, really, at this point, that a studio as large as Call of Duty Studios, with the number of developers that they've had, the amount of QA that they should be having on these updates, regularly finds themselves taking 10 steps backwards with every single update. It's the only company I can think of, really, where updates to its game are so backward stepping that it puts the game in a bad spot. Battlefield doesn't do it. Most of the extraction shooters don't do it. Most of the battle royales don't do it. Updates are iterational improvements. But in the case of Call of Duty, somehow this multi-billion-dollar studio, this multi-billion-dollar setup with Activision and Xbox, has managed to just constantly make the game worse. And I really don't know how they manage it at this point. So folks, that's it for this video. If you're wondering what Season 3 Reloaded was like, avoid it with a barge pole, and maybe when Season 4 comes out in about 20 to 30 days, the game might be in an operable state again, but who knows. If you like this video, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one.